21 years ago, on a beautiful day in May, my Prince Charming arrived in a white BMW. He had just made his first sales call on Goldberg and Sullivan. Over lunch with Deanne and Dora, he had told them how he had just moved to California from Chicago 3 months earlier. Deanne and Dora being girls, they start to describe all the single girls at Goldberg and Sullivan and try to figure out who they can set him up with. The conversation spilled over into the front lobby. I was on the other side of the window, talking to my sister Jennifer, who was the receptionist at the time. I didn't know it. I wasn't aware of the conversation that he was having with Deanne and Dora. But when he saw me through the window, he said, "Her, a girl just like that." Being a prankster, as Mike always was, when I looked up and saw him, he dropped to his knees, put his hands in this position, and said, "Please, say you'll go out with me." I looked at Jen and I said, "Oh my God, who is he talking to?" When I realized it was me, I walked to the open glass partition, reached out my hand, and said, "Hi, I'm Patty." And so began our love story. We had our first date right here at this very hotel. There was a beautiful restaurant downstairs right below us at the time. It was called Cielo Mare. The night flew by as we talked for hours about everything. I found that our values were so similar, and at the core of it all was family. 2 years after we met was the best day of my entire life. Once again, here at this hotel, in this very room, we had our wedding reception. It was magical. He looked so handsome with that smile, that amazing smile. Michael was a good man, known by many, loved by all. That's what he would say over and over again, walking around the house. That was Michael, practicing his own eulogy. And this was long before he got sick. But that was Mike, always teasing, sometimes incessantly. I'd often have to chime in and say, "He's only joking." And after a while, when he still didn't stop, "Lovey, enough already." But that was just him. If he loved you, he teased you. We spent over 250 nights in hospitals. I would build my office, bring the Banner of Mary, our TV, DVDs. As long as we were together, it was home. At home, the blood draw texts would come in very early in the morning, like 3 a.m. We'd get a surprise when they came up for their early morning draw, and my head popped out from under the blanket. We shared that hospital bed. It wasn't too small. It was perfect. There's a line in a movie we were watching one night that brought me to tears because it described Michael perfectly. You're a good man, even when you think nobody is watching. I know no one more generous than my husband. He never passed a homeless person without dropping something in their cup. If any of his employees, family, or friends ever needed anything, he didn't hesitate, handing over money, never expecting it back. It's not that we had so much, but he felt compelled to help others when they could use it more than us. On September 28, 2009, the day our lives changed completely. Mike had finally done his blood work after months of suffering from massive headaches. Dr. Katzen called and asked him, "Where are you?" He was at GNS, talking to me in the parking lot. He told him, "Go straight to Hoag. Don't stop anywhere. Drive very carefully. You have leukemia." He told him his oncologist, who was also his mother's oncologist, would meet him there. When she saw him that night, she asked him if he was Catholic. "Yes," he said. He didn't tell her he hadn't been practicing in many years, and the only time he went to church was when his mother was in town. She told him she should have an anointing of the sick. "My last rites? Why?" "You are gravely ill. AML and a cerebral hematoma." He was lucky he made it through that first night. But the most important thing happened that night. He began his journey back to his faith. He found a new love for God and his Catholicism. It was the biggest blessing that came from this brutal disease. Many people have told me, "He's so lucky to have you." Let me tell you why I am the lucky one. Michael loved to spoil me. Every business trip to Hawaii, he would bring me back a Hawaiian bracelet. By the fourth one, I finally said, "Please, I love them, but no more." Then he searched for other gifts to surprise me. I truly wanted for nothing. He loved pictures of me and put them everywhere, on his cell phone, in the woodshed, and of course, his infamous tattoo, which was a shocking surprise to me when he first got it. Then he finally went overboard with a life-size portrait in front of the Eiffel Tower, and he hangs proudly in our living room. It's a great topic for my cousins to tease me about. They take pictures with it, stick their finger in the nose. It's great. When we got our new puppy 3 months ago, he wanted to name her Patty Lynn. Fortunately, I won that battle. And Lori said, "You name her Patty Lynn, you're not having her." So we named her Lucky. Because I felt so lucky to have him. Every single morning when I went to work, Michael, who was often exhausted from the treatment, and couldn't get up early, he would sleep in to gain his energy. He would open his eyes, give me a kiss goodbye, and tell me, "You look great. Really beautiful. I am so lucky." He never missed an opportunity to thank me for being by his side, for fighting this battle, and for showing him the true meaning of life. Am I angry that we fought so hard to come to this? No. I am grateful. Grateful for 2.5 years from that fateful night. Grateful for a love that grew deeper than any of us could ever have imagined possible. Grateful for 2 more cruises, another trip to Wisconsin. Grateful for another holiday party, time spent with friends and family we hadn't seen in so long. Grateful he never lost his independence or his dignity. On the Monday before he passed, he drove himself to the City of Hope, joked with Dr. Stein and the nurses, visited with other patients as he got his transfusion. Grateful that on the eve of his passing, he built a fire of his favorite pinyon and oak. Lucky and I laid on the floor next to him, and we all watched TV together. Grateful he didn't suffer, and that he regained his consciousness on that final day, so he knew I was there. Grateful I could tell him, I love you so much. And he could reply, I love you too, as he tapped my hand 3 times, as we always do. And so grateful that he had the chance to say, I am so sorry. I didn't know at the time what he was apologizing for. I replied, no, I'm sorry. He shook his head frantically. No. Now, I know what he meant. He always said, I will never stop fighting, because I never want my wife to think that I ever gave up. He knew they were going to incubate him. He knew his body was tired. He knew he could no longer fight. He had nothing to be sorry for. I had nothing but the greatest pride in his strength. Michael's favorite saying over the last couple of years was to live in the hearts of those you leave behind is to never die. My love, you will live in my heart for always. And when my day arrives, we will meet again and be together for eternity.